Hi, I'm Shannon the Garden Girl from Georgina Garden Center. I am going to show you today how to replant a staghorn fern. Now, I've had a couple for a while now. This one's my oldest one. It's probably 3 or 4 years old. And when I originally got this, it was much smaller. It was in a half a coconut. Obviously the coconut had been taken out and that was used as the planter, and it just came like that. And it quickly outgrew that, so I had to take it out. And I thought, a lot of people put these on, like, they mount them on wood and then hang them on their wall, but I thought it'd be really hard to water because you'd have to take it down each time, water it, let it dry, then put it back up. So I thought, why not take the same idea, and when you put it on the wall you surround it with moss, like sphagnum moss. So I thought, why not take the same idea, take it out of the coconut shell it was in, and I planted it with sphagnum moss. So if there's any soil in here, it was only a little bit of soil that was left around the roots, but otherwise this is in probably about a 5-inch pot with sphagnum moss around it. This one here is a couple of years old. I got this, it was just in a probably 4.5-inch plastic pot. It was planted in soil and it didn't have any shields on anything, only had a couple of fronds. When I first got it, it was really tiny. But I had already transplanted this one, so I thought I'll transplant this one right away. And it's been doing quite well. It has quite a bit of growth on it. So what I thought, and another viewer had noticed these in the background of another video, so asked to do how to replant them, so that I do a video for you guys. So I have this staghorn fern here. It's in probably maybe a 6-inch size pot. And there's actually 2 plants in here, I believe. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same kind of thing. I've picked this pot. It actually has holes in the side, so I thought it would be good for the staghorn, so it could get some good airflow. It's actually an orchid pot. You put your plastic potted orchid inside, and this is the decorative pot, or plant right in here, but it allows airflow for the roots. Thought, why not for the staghorn as well? So that's the size pot I'm going to use. It is a little bit smaller than the pot it's in right now, only because this one has multiple plants in it. I'm only going to put 1 plant in this, so that's why it's a little bit smaller. Otherwise you keep to the same size or 1 size bigger when you're transplanting tropicals. So I have some sphagnum moss here, and I've just put it in a bowl of water. It's easier to work with when it's moist, when it has absorbed some water. So I'll just leave it in there for a few minutes just to soak it up. You can see it's dripping water out. So I'm just going to leave that in there for a few minutes just to absorb more. Okay, set it aside. So I'm going to take apart the fern now, and very gently, because you don't want to damage the shields too much. Sometimes it's kind of inevitable. It's going to happen, but I'll see what I can do here without damaging them. I'm just squeezing the pot to loosen it. There you go. And I'm going to take all this soil off. And see if I can divide this plant up. And just gently pulling it apart. Okay, so you can see there's 2 different plants in there. Doesn't matter which one you transplant. I think I'm going to go for this one just because it's a little bit more fronds on it. This one has just the few fronds, the arms, and then the big shields on it. I'll put that one in another pot at another time. So this one, just because it was inside, had a bad leaf. When the shields, if you've ever had one, the big giant green shields, when they turn brown, don't pick them off. It's just what they do. It's their age. Don't pick those off. It protects the new ones and it protects everything in the plant. So as they turn brown, that's a good thing. Leave them on. The new ones will be green. As they age, they turn brown. If you get a brown leaf, like a tip or whatever, I just trim off any brown tips I get. If a whole leaf goes brown, it doesn't happen that often, maybe a couple of years, or a couple per year. Just pinch that leaf off. Just be careful you don't rip the rest of it off, but otherwise they're very low maintenance, very easy plant. So what I'm going to do for this, because I'm going to be putting it in moss, I'm going to take off as much of the soil around here. I'm just going to massage it lightly. I don't want to take off too much because I don't want to, I'm already shocking it by separating it and shocking it by transplanting it. So I'm just going to take off what soil will come off kind of willingly. It's very rooted in here. Okay, so that's as much as I'm going to take off. That's pretty firm in there. There's a lot of roots holding onto it, so that's good enough. So now I'm going to take a bit of my moss here, and it's okay, sometimes there's sticks, that's okay. I'm going to take a bit of it. Some of it's, you can get really kind of pretty moss. It's almost the stuff I guess that was on the top. It's really nice and green. I might save that for the top, just so the top's more decorative. And then sometimes you get some more, like, just not so nice, just kind of almost brown. I'll put that in the bottom. And I'm just creating a bit of a nest in here, if you will, for it. So what I've done is I've just lined the pot around. I put a bit on the bottom and just lined the pot. What I'm going to do now is put the fern in, and my aim is to have the top of this soil level, the top of the moss level, a little bit down from the top of the pot, just so when you do water or anything like that, not that you're going to pour water on these. I've done another video on how I water my staghorns. I do it under a tap, so you can go back and see that video. So I don't actually pour water on it, but you still want to keep your pot below the top of the soil level, or the pot level. Keep your plant below the pot level, if I messed that up. So it's in there, it's a little bit below. Now I'm going to, the moss is really easy to work with. You can kind of pull it apart. I'm going to do a long skinny piece just to fit in around. I'm not packing this in by any means, I'm just gently placing it in there. You don't want to pack it in and condense it all, but then you also don't want giant air spaces, so it's kind of a little bit in between there. Okay, and I'm at this spot now, and I did save this piece because we're a little bit nicer at the top of it, the green. In this spot you can see a little bit more. The rest of it, the fronds and the shields, kind of cover the moss. So just stick that in there, just on top. And so none of the moss is covering the shields, none of it's covering any of the fronds. It's just at the soil level. Just have a hole there. And that's how easy it is. That's it. You just clean off the outside of your pot. It's neat because you can see some of the moss through. You can see the water already coming out of the pot. But you can see the moss coming through. You see a little bit of moss on the top. And this will be really happy to get a lot of airflow through there. Be happy in the moss. When you do water it, I water it under a tap. I just get a little bit in the roots, just kind of enough to moisten the soil or enough to moisten the moss. And then a lot of the water I just concentrate on the fronds and the shields. They're from a tropical climate, very humid, so they like a humid top. So that's how I water them. Again, you can go back to my other video that I've shown and discussed that. But that's how easy it is. It's very easy. Nice little project, a little bit different than just planting a plant in soil and putting stones or something on top. Just a little different. There you go, guys. Have a great day.